What's up, the world? What's up? This your boy Tommy Mab. I just wanted to come in and talk and, as promised, speak on this whole Ja Morant situation because I feel like it's the media beating a dead horse, and the black athlete narrative to me is ridiculous. Okay, all this stuff that's going on with Ja Morant right now. I think the media is the difference between black athletes and white athletes, right? Let's say Ja Morant was a hillbilly from Colorado who was at a Texas Roadhouse and he got in an argument with someone and he showcased his gun in an altercation. Would the media be taking this into context? I mean, would be blowing this up as that guy being a thug? No, they wouldn't. Should Ja Morant not do what most, what is he, 22, 23 years old? He should, so Ja Morant, who's 22, 23 years old, shouldn't be going to clubs and partying. It defies logic. Ja has a permit for his gun. He can have a freaking gun. It's American right. It's the Second Amendment. He can have a gun. He has done this whole thing that Ja needs to change his life on. What has Ja Morant done? He went to a club and showcased that he had a gun. Now, the stupidity of it goes without saying. The stupidity of a guy who knows he's being watched and being scrutinized and talked about and chooses to take the time to go on IG in a club where he seems tipsy and pull out a gun to showcase some type of rebellion towards, I guess, Steven Adams, or from what the reports are saying. I don't know. That he's a grown man, he can do what he wants, that's fine, but it's idiotic. You know they're looking for stuff. You know they're trying to find any reason to get, they're looking for any reason to demonize you. Why? Ja Morant is not the guy they want being the face of the NBA. Sadly, he is becoming the face of the NBA. He is the most exciting, most electrifying player in the NBA by far. So, what the media does, whenever you have a guy like a Luka, or a guy like a Trae Young, or a guy like a Steph Curry or Kevin Durant, these guys are all just blue-collar guys, right? They're not hood, they're just black blue-collar guys, meaning they're not sellouts, they're not, but they're blue-collar guys, meaning they don't, when you talk to them, you know they're black. Whether, even if you heard them on the phone, you would know they're black guys. Steph, LeBron, KD, you know they're black just from the phone call, right? You can just talk on the phone with Steph and then talking to a black guy. You talk on the phone with LeBron, I'm talking to a black guy. Talk to KD, I'm talking to a black guy. They're not one of those guys that you have to, is he black or is he white, right? You know they're black. Right? Just from the way that they speak, their dialogue, you know that they're cultured around a lot of black people. Just from their dialogue and the way that they act. And that's not to say if a person, it's just, you can tell their upbringing is not, they don't get in trouble because they don't hang around black people. No. The dialogue, when you listen to them talk, their dialogue is generally very, I wouldn't say Ebonic heavy, but the kind of, the syntax, the way that they speak, it's black. It comes off as black, and you can tell it's black. And people who love to say there's no black people have a culture. All these people who try to go out of their way to say, oh, well, what is black? Black is black. Black is black because the same way you know what Latin is, the same way you know what Asian is, the same way you know, all these are cultures. Okay, now are there outliers? Yes, there are people who are black who don't act this way. Just like there are people who are Spanish who don't act that way. There are people who are Asian who don't act that way. But that does not change the whole of the culture, because there are certain individuals within that culture that don't act that way. There are white people who do not act white. They act closer to black culture. That does not mean that they're less white in their ethnicity. It means they're less white in their culture. And I don't know why people can't understand that difference. There's a difference from being less black in your ethnicity and being less black in your culture. Steph Curry is less black in his culture, but you can still see he's centered, that he grew up around a lot of black people. Just from the way he speaks and the way he acts. Right? Someone like LeBron, obviously, he's heavy in the black culture. He's in more black culture than he is in white or mainstream culture. Same for Kevin Durant. There's certain people that are like that, but then there are certain black people that golf and do a lot of things that white people do. And that doesn't make them less black. It just means that their culture is closer to mainstream or white. And I don't know why people take that as a disrespectful comment. It's just dumb. Yes, black is many shades. So is white. There's many shades of all people. But when you're speaking in generalities, you have to speak to a place of reference. And when you're speaking to a place of reference, you cannot just say black is anything. No, black has to have a culture because it has to have a place of reference in which people can refer to. So yes, black is multi-layered. Being black is multi-layered, multifaceted. But on the average, this is black culture. And just because it is black culture doesn't make it thug culture, doesn't make it gangster culture. Black culture is absent of criminality. That is offensive. To say that that people don't like what John Morant does. John Morant didn't do anything. John Morant has never been in trouble. He's never robbed anybody, killed anybody, stolen anything. He's never so much seen John Morant get in a fight. On the court, he's never even been in an altercation where he's throwing fists. He's not nothing about John Morant screams criminal, thug, gangster. So all these people saying John Morant trying to act gangster. No, he's not. John Morant's acting like the culture he grew up in South Carolina. That's how they act, so that's how he acts. It makes absolutely no sense to criminalize a culture because there are criminals in that culture. That's like saying if you golf, that somehow it's gangster culture because there are white people who golf who have killed people. That makes absolutely no sense. Yes, the athletes and the rappers are coming out of the same culture. So yes, they're going to have some commonalities because they're two people coming out of the same culture. It's the same culture. The difference is they're criminals in the culture and they're just people in the culture. I wear my hat this way. Sometimes I wear my hat this way. Sometimes I wear it's a part of black culture. That's the way we dress. That's the way we act. That's the way we wear our hats. Whether we see someone else do it or we just we just do it one day and think it looks tight, we do it. That is black culture. What I have a problem with is people who take that and try to say, oh, well, you realize that because John Morant has a gun, that somehow it's criminal culture. It's like, no, it's not. No different than if you see all these white guys walking with guns strapped to their hips. Are they gangster? Are they trying to be gangster? Are they trying to be criminal? No, they're just guys with guns. Every person in America has a right to bear arms. Why is he being demonized for bearing arms? He has done nothing wrong. And these people, well, I mean, this guy, he wants to be a criminal. He wants to be a gangster. No, what they want is for John Morant to dissociate himself from black culture. That's what they want. That's what the guys, the people sponsoring him want. That's what the Grizzlies want. And most of all, that's what the NBA wants. Why? Because he's more marketable. They don't want him to have dreads. They don't want him to have tattoos. They want him to be like clean cut, Steph Curry, clean cut hair, golfing, no tattoos. That's who they want the face of of the NBA to be. And this guy plays the game so electrifying and exciting that he just draws attention to himself. And that attention he draws from these crazy plays he makes off just sheer talent, they can't separate the two. So when people come, John Morant, and they see the dad with the glasses, and he's very look at me. He's very old, Allen Iverson-esque. Except Allen Iverson, I think, was more low-key. I think he got a bad rap. Now, Allen Iverson seemed more like a humble, low-key guy who just happened to be talented and in the black culture. John Morant more comes off as cocky. Like, he's very, very arrogant. He's very cocky, and he comes off that way. He's very self-confident, and he has every right to be self-confident because he's that good. So when you watch a guy like John Morant, just a second. Yeah, John Morant is associated with something that is bigger than he is. His talent has put him in a stratosphere that he's now big business, and he's more of a brand than he is a person, right? And they don't have. I mean, the guy Brandon showed a gun. He didn't point it at anybody. He didn't shoot it in a club. He brandished a gun, a small gun. It's like, well, did he sneak it on the plane? Why would he have to sneak it on the plane? I'm pretty sure he probably has some friends, families, people that are driving who didn't go on the team plane that possibly just brought the gun with them, brought his stuff that he couldn't take on the plane with him. It's like they're trying to see if he broke any gun laws. Why? What crime did he commit, and why are they investigating him brandishing a gun that he has a right to carry? Now, if he doesn't have a right to carry it, okay. But I would assume that they would already have the charge if he didn't have a right to carry the gun. So I don't know Colorado gun laws, but I would assume that they wouldn't be investigating it because it would be obvious he had a gun. And if he wasn't supposed to have a gun, then the assumption would be he would be charged already. But it seems as if they don't have anything to charge him with, and they're looking for something to charge him with. And that's all a product of the fact that he's such a high-profile player, and these sponsors don't want to have to deal with him being associated with black culture. They want him to be associated with mainstream culture. And yeah, I mean, he's big business, and they don't want Ja. They want Ja to be more mainstream. They want him to be more marketable towards, and they know there's a lot of racist white people who will not support John Morant simply because he has dreads, or simply because he listens to rap music, or they will root against him based on those principles, because of the demonization of black culture. And I'm not blaming white people for the demonization of black culture. I'm blaming black people. I mean, rappers are the reason. Rappers and artists in all in all genres. These guys who make these hood movies, they demonize black culture. And then after they demonize black culture, they turn around and they go march against the consequences of their actions. Okay, white people are not the ones that majority portray black people. BMF, Snowfall, BMF, Snowfall, Power, Book of Canaan, all of these thug, criminal, creating these black villains, these black people, in which they write these people as soulless, degenerate. That's coming from black people. That's not coming from white people. It's coming from black people. Okay, so I'm not saying white people demonize black culture. I'm saying black people demonize black culture. And what it ends up happening, the result of these, what they do, leads to what happened with John Morant, where you get a guy who, with all intents and purposes, is just a kid. who's just living how he's always lived. He's always done these things, and he's always lived his life in his way. But now he's a brand, and being black is being in black culture is bad for your brand. Now, a little black culture, see, that's cool. See LeBron, KD, Steph Curry, they're kind of, they're black culture, but they're mainstream black culture. They're not out with the thugs. They hang around, your Jay-Z's and, the high profile guys who are more corporate than they are, hood. You don't see them out in the hood chilling. That's not LeBron. That's not KD. That's just not what they do. But they'll hang around and they'll go to some places that are hip hop culture because that kind of gives them a cool edge. But they don't overdo it, right? But Ja, they already don't like. They've not liked the Memphis Grizzlies all year, and they definitely never liked Ja. They've always had a problem with Ja Morant. Because Ja Morant is cocky. He's confident. He talks a lot. He's that old school black athlete. All these new guys are more corporate athletes. Your LeBrons, KD, Steph. You know what I'm saying? Giannis. They're more of the mainstream new black athlete, right? They got that swag to them, but they're more of a, that swag is more rounded. You know what I mean? It's more nuanced. Ja has that old school black athlete that I don't want nothing to do with your culture. I come here to ball, and I ball better than you, and that's all that matters. I ain't trying to be your friend. I'm not trying to go out. I'm not trying to be take me as I am. If you want me to represent, then I'm gonna represent. But I'm not here to prove nothing to y'all. That you come to me. And for long, Ja Morant has gotten away with being that way, with the dreads and outside of him, football, none of those guys, as much talented as a lot of those guys is, they don't get a lot of sponsors, the ones with the dreads. They don't. Ja Morant is one of the few athletes now who has dreads, yet is still extremely marketable and still gets a lot of sponsors and corporate sponsors and stuff like that. And that's being who he is. And that's because his game is so electrifying. And it's like Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson changed popular culture in the way that guys dressed and the way that they play basketball. Ja Morant is doing it. But his generation hasn't come yet. And they're trying to nip that in the butt before it get there. But anyways, right now, I'm just going to stop there. I will do a part 2 to this because right now I'm in a rush, so I can't really do a part 2 to it. But I will do a part 2 soon and possibly upload it sometime today because I wanted to talk about this in a more nuanced stance, but I'm in a rush now, so I can't really do it. So please, as for right now, based on what I've said so far, comment, and maybe if I read or get any of the comments later on, maybe I can come up and kind of add some of those into the second part and explain my thought on this more nuanced. But as far as Ja Morant, I am in no way leaving Ja Morant of responsibility. You got to have some responsibility. You got to know who you are. You got to know your environment, and you got to know the environment you're in, and you got to know the stakes of what you're doing. And I think he played around with it. Should he be suspended for 2 games? No. He shouldn't be suspended at all. People are talking about he should be suspended for the rest of the season. For what? If he had a right to carry his gun, what laws did he break and what did he do? And he apologized, and I think that made it worse. But anyways, other than that, you got to understand that. And so I'm not absolving Ja Morant. These kids just, the price of what he gave was not worth the price of what he got. It was a bad deal. Why would you do that? Just stay low key. Stay off Instagram for a month. They'll forget about the story. The kid already has a checkered past. The kid that accused you of frivolous lawsuits. Just let it die down. Instead, he comes right behind that. Regardless. Anyways, please, I'll talk about this more nuanced after this, when I do part 2. So please comment if you haven't commented. Subscribe, and thumbs it up if you like it. All right, y'all. Peace.